What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Christian Witch Podcast. I'm your host, Chosen, also known as at Christian Witch HTX over on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. You can find me at Christian Witch X. You can also go to ChristianWitchHTX.com to find all of my resources and services. I am a certified professional psychic medium. If you're finding the podcast for the first time, I'm a professional Christian witch and professional psychic medium, and I own an academy where I train people in witchcraft, healing, and psychic development. We have a mediumship course coming and a healing course coming. So definitely go check it out. You can also book all of my services over there. And feel free to say hi to me on social media. I'm joined today by my co-host, Lux. It's been a couple episodes. How the hell are you?
Hey! Hey guys, it's good to be back. This is Lux with Intuitive Therapy by Lux. I have a website, luxintuitivetherapy.com.
That's right.
Yeah. You can check me out on Facebook as well. Again, Intuitive Therapy by Lux Facebook page. Please give me a follow on there. And yeah, I'm happy to be back. It's the solstice, isn't it?
It is. Today
so
is.
happy solstice.
I heard that it's pronounced Litha, but I've always said Litha.
I've said Litha.
Yeah, I don't know however you say it. It's the solstice when we're recording this. We're gonna throw it up tonight too. So yeah. So happy solstice. Happy summer solstice. Midsummer's dream to everyone. It's hot in Texas. I don't know if you guys live anywhere near hell, but it's not nearly as hot as it is in Texas. It's so hot I can't even function, honestly. But yeah, we're excited to be back and talking to you guys today about like how to actually learn magic. Like, let's cut the crap. How do you actually learn magic? So we're going to go ahead and let the introduction ad roll, and then we will be right back. So BRB. All right, so as responsible, super put together and professional podcast hosts, we've made a few notes. So, Lexi, why don't you're reading the notes. So what is the first step? If we were going to learn magic, what would you say would be step number one? I know what I would say, but what would you say?
I would say psychic development.
Same.
Yeah.
Same for sure.
And to me, that doesn't mean like full-fledged you're a professional psychic medium, can read the tarot to people and can all 9 types of stuff. That's not what we're talking about. The main things you want to focus on are opening up your psychic senses and becoming aware of them.
Learning to perceive energy, recognize when it's coming in, where it's coming from is important. But like, you don't have to master these things right away.
Exactly.
It's more like becoming aware, like we talked about.
Yeah, sensing it, right? And also learning to manipulate it a little bit is going to help. You're developing your visualization skills is going to help a lot during magic. And then also shifting into alpha, shifting your consciousness, which is really the key. That's the mystery. That's the mystery.
No one wants to tell you.
Yeah, that's really the thing, I remember a time when I was trying to do magic without having any knowledge or understanding of shifting your consciousness, and I was always having failed spells, not really understanding why my spells were working. And if you're having failed spells, I'm not saying this is necessarily why, but it could be. It could be a variety of other reasons. So,
and learning to shift that consciousness not only allows you to perceive that energy, but also it helps you focus on manipulating it. You know? So like you said earlier, learning about moving it a little bit and getting familiar with that energy. Yeah. Learning to slow your brain down, which is where everything is translated from the quote unquote spiritual world into our more physical understandings. Slowing it down allows us to perceive more of what's going on, and then as well as send signals back out into the spiritual realm and kind of control it. So good stuff, girl.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the key to magical enterprise. It's also the key to psychic ability, just in general.
Yeah.
When a psychic's talking about, let me tune in. If you guys have ever gotten a reading or see a reading done, psychic will say, let me tune in right quick. That's what they're doing. They're shifting their consciousness.
Yeah, and honestly, you get to a point, and like your goal is to be able to jump in and out.
Right.
When I train people who are wanting to learn like psychic mediumship, just the psychic skills, really in my entire course in itself, I teach them how to jump in and out. I kind of just like do it without them knowing, because I don't want them to feel like they have to like go through this process to shift their consciousness every time. But there are methods that you can practice every day for, I would say 15 minutes a day is best, because honestly, it's super healthy for you to be an alpha.
Mm,
Matter of fact, every 15 minutes spent in alpha is equivalent to 3 hours of rest for your body.
mm,
So it's really important to learn to do this. This is what like big corporations do, like these big businesses that have like napping levels for their employees.
mm.
Like this is why being an alpha keeps them healthy. It also allows their creativity to flow. So,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, learning to shift that in practice, learning a technique that allows you to practice daily until it becomes second nature and you can jump in and out of it would be super beneficial
Yeah.
around this level. And then learning to identify those senses, like when am I seeing energy? When am I hearing
Mm.
energy? When am I feeling it? Understanding the difference. You know,
Yeah.
so
The
yeah.
last thing I'll say on that before we move on is you'll get a hold of this and you'll start to, okay, well, let me research how do I develop my psychic abilities, right? And a lot of these books, at least the ones that I've seen, a lot of people will tell you, like, oh, meditation. Meditation's number one. You gotta meditate,
Mm,
meditate, meditate. And that is just very overwhelming. And it's like, so basically what you're telling me is that I have to learn meditation to learn psychic ability before I can learn to do magic. And that's just not the
it's
case.
not the
You
case.
don't have to learn how to meditate. The part of meditation that we are interested in is the shifting of the consciousness. And again, this can be done almost instantly once you, again, have built up a practice of learning how to do so.
Yeah.
Like Chosen was saying, about 15 minutes a day. There's instant magic triggers as
Hmm.
well. My mentor called them neuro-linguistic anchors.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of different words for this. It's essentially it's a physical gesture that tells your brain and your mind to slow down and shift conscious instantly, within
Yeah.
one breath or maybe 3 breaths or something like that. And, we're speaking in kind of vague terms right now, and that's okay. We're just trying to point you guys in
In
the
the right
right direction
direction.
rather than giving full-blown instructions on how to do these things.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in learning more about anything that we talk about on the podcast today, please contact either one of us because we do offer spiritual and magical mentorship as well. And his
Absolutely.
course, you learn all this
We
as
have a
well.
whole 15-week course. We have personal mentorships.
Exactly.
You offer what is the name of your service? It's like a mentorship program. I know
Yeah.
mine. They book them like when you want one-on-one services with me
Hmm.
to learn something. I need to just set up a separate service that says mentorship. But for right now, it's
Yeah.
spiritual life
That's
coaching.
mine's spiritual advising.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's
spiritual
about the
advising,
same
spiritual
thing.
life coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys are looking, that's what it is. But anyways, so yeah, you don't need to learn how to empty your mind to then learn how to fill it.
Exactly.
You just need to learn how to slow it down and pay attention to what you want to pay attention to.
Exactly.
Okay?
It's focus.
It's focus. Yeah, exercising focus. So yeah, what's the next step?
Next one, we put research.
Okay, so for this one, so for me, I need some sort of working theory. I need some sort of like, okay, so for me, this is part of like almost like proving it to myself a little bit. Later, we talk about like separately, like actually doing magic and proving it for yourself. But in the research, we're learning, what do people say magic really is? How does it work? How do they think it works? Understanding the principles, the design laws of the universe, the way it functions within a general sense, if you're not wanting to focus on like a particular branch of occultism. And I think the research process is when you start diving into all that. You're reading, you're learning, you're taking notes. You're like, oh my gosh, this is what alpha is. This is what the hermetic principles are. This is the law of return. This is, this is what mediumship versus psychic ability is. Like, you're learning all the different lingo. It's like you're learning the vocabulary and you're learning to understand concepts. That way, as you continue to grow, you can kind of connect the dots and you're like, oh, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because different cultures have different semantics for some of the same exact concepts. So for research, for me, it's all about understanding. It's like building the infrastructure like within yourself. That way you can like then start building the foundation, or building the what do you call it, the outer layers.
Yeah, totally. A big part of it is nomenclature. So yeah, it's building that vocabulary around different occult words, things that would be unfamiliar to just the average Joe, the uninitiated is what it would be called. So at this point, you're starting to study, Magic 101 is what I call it. It's your basics, what is a circle? How do I cast one? Why do I need to cast one? What does magic mean? What is magic at all? What kind of model am I operating under? Do I believe in an energetic model or a psychological model of magic or a spirit model of magic? Like, how does magic, happen? What is it? How do I define it? How do I define a spell? How do I define these things? What do these things mean to me? What do they mean to you? And a lot of it, if you're on the solitary path, a lot of it is self-study, self-initiation, research. And a lot of what we know is, pretty much all of what we've learned is out of books.
Yeah.
I have a magical mentor now.
Yeah, and I've had a few mentors in my life spiritually, magically, whether they called it magic or not.
Right.
I've had a few mentors, and I'll liken it to this because as you're talking, I'm reminded of a really good example. I went to school, so I did music as well outside of this, and I went to school for music and audio production. That way I understood how to communicate with professionals about what I was trying to get from inside my heart out into the real world. And so it's very similar. It's like, I want to engage with this. I intuitively kind of have an understanding, but I need to understand how to communicate with existence around me and like what laws are in place or what words to use when talking to other people or how to identify certain things. So that research, that magic 101, like you're talking about, that's exactly what it is. It's how to operate into this world now that you've opened your eyes, become aware, and seen that there's so much more to reality.
Yeah.
How do you function in that new reality,
Yeah.
So
start becoming aware of your subconscious mind, and you start doing a little, I hate to use this word because it's so overblown anymore, but you start doing a little shadow work,
No.
Yeah. And that means a million different things to a million different people. You can research that. You can pretty much, you just start putting your feelers out, and in doing this, you will fall down inevitably a whole bunch of rabbit holes. And hopefully you'll fall down one that really strikes your fancy. And you can add that to your repertoire of spiritual tools or philosophies, things that you are building to create a magical system that is uniquely your own. If that's the path you choose to take, that's the path I've chosen. That's the path that Chosen has chosen.
That's right. That's right.
We're, eclectic for lack of a better term.
We're hella eclectic.
I like to say I'm a general occultist.
Yeah, see, and like I like to identify with that, but then, people who are like looking for someone like me, they're not going to know to search for those words.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess amongst us,
You gotta be marketable at some point.
And it's not even really about marketing because we both know like it's not about money. It's not about making money. I mean, this is what we do full time. Like, please, by all means, book a reading. Not my point. My point is like, I'm not trying to become famous off of it or anything like that. But I am in a unique position where I have done the work and I know how to reconcile the beliefs of the incorrect, harmful teachings that are taught within the mainstream church and how to heal those wounds. And so if I want to be of service to someone, I need them to be able to find me. So Christian and witch are like, that's a good general term for them to find,
Yeah.
But anyways, along with what you're saying, I would encourage you all, as Lux is saying here, take what you want and build your own practice. Take what applies to you, take what rings true to you, take the good, leave the bad, okay? And you may come back to that concept later and be like, I like this. Why didn't I take it before? Add it at that time. But in the process, take what stands out to you. Don't get hung up on the details. And don't forget to enjoy the process. What I do is I'll just start reading and researching, and I'll be like, oh, I haven't actually done anything in a while. So make sure you're also kind of, trying out the practices that you're learning, which is another one of our steps somewhere on this list. But yeah, so
I'll say that this, through your research, is really where your discernment is going to start. Well, hopefully it will start kicking in. Yeah, hopefully it will start kicking into high gear. And I think the audience is in a very blessed and unique position, most of us coming from a Christian background, that we have some sort of moral, at least, metric in which to gauge things by. So a big thing that I gauged things by is this feeding the ego or is it feeding the spirit? Okay, and so because what you'll run into, unfortunately, is a lot of marketing BS.
Yeah.
And you'll run into terms like, oh, what kind of witch are you? Are you a moon witch? Or are you a crystal witch? Or are you a kitchen witch?
Or
Or
a
a green
green witch.
witch?
Oh my gosh. Those terms literally kept me from finding some of my favorite new books
Exactly.
for years because it was titled Green Witchcraft, which by the way is a great book. Go find it. But I thought it was just one of those, social media
Right, it's
influenced
marketed.
books marketed because there's so many of those out there. Like, for instance, Wikipedia, beautiful, cute book, has some useful stuff in there, not really changing lives. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
This book, I finally picked it up, thank God. I think the place was spelled that I went into and bought it because I
Mm,
never wanted to buy this book before then. Either that or it was just time spiritually.
yeah.
My guides were like, "You're getting all five." But anyways, um, it's so good. This book is
Yeah.
so good. And again, I don't agree with everything she's saying. I'm reading and taking the good and leaving the extras that I don't need.
Yeah.
Applying it for myself. So yeah, this
Term
whole marketing terms
yeah,
get in the way.
terms like this it's a marketing term. It's a way to get clicks, and the reason why is because it's placating to the ego.
It
It
is.
is witchcraft is now no longer something that you do. It is something that you are. It is an identity that you can now assume, and that makes the ego feel really good.
Yeah.
And it has no basis in feeding the soul or the spirit. And so a lot of discernment is being able to cut through the differences and tapping in with yourself and tapping in with the Holy Spirit and asking, is this feeding my soul or is it feeding my ego?
Yeah.
And you'll find that you can cut through a lot of the BS that way. There's always going to be articles and stuff like, what's your zodiac sign? Oh, you're a Scorpio? That means you're a nocturnal witch. Like, no, it
No,
doesn't.
it does not.
Your zodiac sign does not tell you anything about what kind of witch you are. To be quite honest with you, a a well-versed, competent practitioner understands all aspects. They understand
Correct.
how to use crystals. They understand how to use herbs. They
Mm,
understand how to use what's in their kitchen. They understand how to use all of these different disciplines, or at least the ones that they find they have an affinity for.
yeah.
They know how to use planetary magic. They know how to use all of these different things. If that's if the spell calls for it, if
Yeah.
the working calls
And
for
if they
it.
don't, they know how to go reference books and notes
It
and get the information they don't have memorized.
exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so don't limit yourself and also understand that there is this whole, as you're going through this, and this is part of the last couple steps here, is there is a renewing of the mind going on. You are learning to live from a more like soul perspective as opposed to ego
Mm.
perspective. But, not everyone's out to have you know, their ego destroyed and soul rejuvenated in step one on their spiritual journey.
Yeah,
So
no, this
we
is a
get that.
no, and
But
this is a growing
yeah.
thing. It took me a very long time to crawl out of the new age hole. It took me a long time to
Oh my
crawl
gosh.
out of the Wiccan hole, and now I'm crawling out of the neo-pagan hole. And soon I will probably crawl out of the Golden Dawn ritual magic hole as well, which I think I may
Approaching.
have bypassed that. I think I
Maybe.
may have been like, "Ooh, not today."
Getting involved. Getting involved.
And I'm using some things that are based on that, but I didn't get totally sucked into that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to stay the course on my own thing. So you'll see when you start getting into it. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but there are things that I like to call baby books.
There
Okay,
are. And
they're
like
baby
listen,
books,
they
and
serve
they're
their purpose.
fine.
They serve their purpose.
Yes, absolutely. And they're really cute. And start with those first then. Start with the baby book, the ones that are really pretty and the ones that are fun to read. I
You
mean,
also need to remember like those books they inspire you.
right,
They
they
make you
do. They
want
make
to
you
fall
want
in
to
love with magic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the problem becomes I'm just going to read these baby books for lack of a better
And then you
word.
never advance.
And you never advance, and then on top of it I'm going to get on TikTok and start teaching everybody how to do magic because I think that I know how to do magic
And you don't
now,
know anything.
and really you're not well researched at all. So understand that occultism goes very, very deep.
Yeah.
And
It can get really crazy, like
it,
to the degree your hand is tilted, like
Yeah.
insane.
So, but happy hunting. But you don't have to go down all. That's what I always say now. Seek the mysteries, happy hunting. You
I
don't
love
have
it.
to go down the rabbit holes to the extent that obviously we've gone down. The research is the second thing that we have on our list, but it's really the thing that interpermeates through this entire.
Yeah, you'll
You're
keep
going to continue
learning.
to do that. So really, what you want to learn at this point is your magic basics, your 101. Do you have any, and discernment, do you have any book recommendations you would recommend to a person at this stage?
At this stage, I always love to recommend the book Power of the Witch by Lori Cabot
Mm,
because it inspires, it teaches you alpha.
yeah.
She has a great method in there. And she even teaches instant magic. She teaches you magic, but also it's inspiring. And it was written before the witchcraft craze. Like it was like, I think 80s or 90s that this book was written.
Yeah.
And I reread it every year or so just
Mm,
to, re-inspire myself sometimes. Because I get bogged down in all the details. Another thing we've talked about recently is like not overly scientifically explaining the magic. Like sometimes you need faith. But yeah, I would recommend that book. Another good book for beginners when it comes to researching is, oh gosh, it's escaping me. One second, one second. What was it? Um, Magical Power for Beginners. It's one of the Llewellyn beginners books. Like they
hmm
have a ton of them, and a lot of them aren't really the best, but that one's a good one. The Magical Power for Beginners book. And then if you really are serious about diving into to study, um, I think you and I would both recommend Inner Temple of Witchcraft.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I would
So
recommend that as well. That's an excellent series.
honestly, like if you're really serious about studying, that's the book I always recommend going for. But especially if you're just beginning to research and like you're wanting that inspiration and like I would start with Power of the Witch, then Inner Temple of Witchcraft is usually what I recommend to people.
Yeah. Um, for me, I started off walking the neo-pagan Wiccan path through this and have recently switched more to a ritual magic, high magic mindset, more of a magician path. And so if anyone out there resonates with any of those words that I just said, the book Modern Magic is pretty good.
Donald Michael Craig?
Yeah. That's really what everybody recommends
I
if you're going
know.
to start ritual magic and stuff. And
That's what was recommended to me.
that's a whole nother ball game of how you are going to approach the craft.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm finding a big affinity for that. It's just different.
Hmm.
So look into that too. Look into the path of the magician as well as the path of the witch.
For sure. And that's another thing to talk about is
Mm,
like, we're sitting here talking about magic and a whole,
right.
but if when you really begin to learn, you have, we'll call it simple magic. That's really like how to get things done.
Mm,
And then there's more, what we call it ritualized ceremonial magic,
yes,
which is how to
ceremonial.
get things done, but there's self-development and there's
Mm.
connection with God. There's differences in different practices, but I really like the ceremonial stuff too. Um, I really wanted to go through the Donald Michael Craig book. I haven't done it yet.
I was reading a little bit of it last
Oh,
night.
you started without me? Rude. I'm just kidding. No, really, it's rude. Get out.
I've flipped through it before and I think it's pretty thick.
Oh,
So
it's so thick.
yeah, I
It's
haven't sat down with it,
Yeah,
but I have skimmed a lot. I did flip through it when you recommended it to me a
yeah.
while back.
I think on PDF it's like 1,000 pages.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's something to consider is do I have an affinity more for like the folk stuff? So do I want to start kind of going that way and learning folk magic and charms and different things like that first? Or do I want to is more of my practice focused more devotionally and I don't want to say the word psychologically, but improving your connection with the creator, improving your connection with life as a whole.
Devotional.
Devotional.
That's the word,
Yeah.
And
So that would be high magic, ritual magic, or ceremonial magic.
yeah, and again, you make your own as you go. Like
Yeah. I do both.
I do both.
Yeah.
I love folk magic. I love hoodoo practices. I
Right.
love um oh my gosh, my mind just went break. Like traditional witchcraft
Mm.
practices. Like, and here's the deal, so much of it is so similar.
There's a lot of
but
overlap.
but there's just there's certain things that like they're not teaching in traditional witchcraft. They're
Yeah,
teaching this in like ceremonial magicians.
exactly.
Like
There is a difference. There is a lot of overlap,
yeah.
and um, there's a lot of different theories on what you should do first and why. Personally, I started with folk magic. Um, and I do agree with the theory of like, let's get the skills to take care of the things that are like directly impacting you. Your finances, your love life, can you get a job? These real, quote unquote, real world things, you know what I
Well,
mean?
they're the physical world
Right, the
things.
physical
So
world things. Let's get those taken care of before we can set up an entire, ceremonial ritualistic type space where
correct.
we're doing these, really amazing rituals, trying to get, enlightenment from the divine creator and just things
Yeah.
like that. So, but you start wherever you feel drawn.
Yeah.
That's really what this thing is
And I just
about.
want to add a note on that. Those physical world things that you need to get a hold of, like for instance, money spells, love spells, those things. We have been conditioned as a society to think that our needs are selfish.
Mm,
And I'm not saying sit around and like do a spell and like make people love you. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have to have a roof over your home.
mm-hmm.
You have to have food in your tummy. You have to have your needs met, your physical needs, your emotional needs. Those things have to be met. And no one wants to do soul development when they're miserable, hungry, and
Exactly.
homeless.
Yeah.
So like getting those things taken care of is not bad. And that's where a lot of, craft, practices begin is okay, how do I do a money spell to, pay off this debt or whatever? That's totally fine, but
Yeah.
you will begin to move past that. And there's ethics, of course, and stuff that you'll consider. But I really, especially coming from a Christian worldview, it's often seen selfish when that's all you focus on,
Mm,
but they're making the assumption that that's all you're focusing on,
right, exactly.
and you're just focusing on your main needs. And they do
Yeah.
the same thing. We do the same thing in the Christian church. We call in our blessings, we pray for it, all that fun stuff. But if you don't
Yeah.
know, you don't know. It's just ignorance.
Mhm.
So don't
And
feel bad.
and you can make a folk magic act like a candle magic or making of a charm or casting a spell for a job. You can make those things devotional,
Correct.
So
Yeah.
God is definitely involved in these things. It's hard to describe ritual magic without yeah.
I know. By the way, we're on step 2 still.
Yeah, we're on
we're
step 2.
we're still we're
Yeah,
still
we're on
talking
step.
about research, but
Yeah,
it's all
this
stuff
is
you need to
research.
know though.
Yeah, this
And
is
honestly,
research.
this 10 minutes or so that we spent here will it's it's things you're gonna wish you had known
Yeah.
as opposed to spending years figuring it out.
What we're trying to say is that your research will reveal your path.
Yeah. So don't worry, guys. Your research, the things you learn, you'll begin to figure out where you want to go. And don't worry, you also have a team of guides and spirit beings all helping you out. So you're not in this alone. Um,
And all of that kind of comes in, I feel like, a little bit at a time, too. What do you have for the next one?
what's the next one? I can't read upside down.
Okay,
I'm gonna probably code
on
my head
your
hurts.
list, we put divination or to prove the supernatural.
Okay, yes. So what I mean by this is like do something that begins proving the supernatural to yourself, proving magic to yourself. Learn to play with energy. Feel the energy. Like if you have experiential knowledge, it doesn't matter what you think because you're having a direct experience that's proving it to you. And if you can prove those things to yourself, you can prove magic's existence to yourself, you can build that confidence and build that confidence in yourself as well, that you're going to be okay because if you can feel this energy that you just conjured and this energy ball, or if you can, like I love to use a pendulum because it's an external sign of like energy moving it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like unless you're literally swinging it, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just swinging in certain directions. Okay, as you ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also get stands for it. Not the point. The external signs. Sometimes we need hard proof, and I know that it may seem silly to some people, but learning divination, reading cards. Automatic writing, playing with energy, energy balls, energy healing, things like this, it does build that confidence. And so if you're like, okay, I can do this, I've seen this evidence, then you're like, well, maybe I can, do a spell to get that job that my family really needs me to get. and maybe we'll be secure. You start believing a little bit more, which then just helps your magic be stronger because your
Exactly.
faith is there too,
Yeah, you have, yeah.
you know. So when I say that prove the supernatural to yourself, I mean start doing stuff and start experiencing, um, start proving it to yourself. Literally, it's going to build your self confidence and allow you to move in the direction that you want your life to go in.
Absolutely. Do you want me to list off?
Yes, I know. Because so we guys, just so you know, we made two lists. We were like, okay, what would we do? Like how? Like what were some general steps we'd come up with to help somebody on their path learning
Yeah.
magic? I posted a video similar to mine the other day on TikTok, and so we were kind of like, let's do a podcast on this. So, what did you put for step three?
So if I had a student, right, or a person came up to me and said, "Hey, I've done a lot of research. I know my path. What do you recommend I look at next?" I'd say, "Well, I recommend you look into folk magic, learning how to do candle magic, learning how to make charms, looking at your ancestors, learning what types of spirits are out there, and really starting to commune and become an integrated part with the world around you, learning how physical objects and how this physical world is deeply intertwined with the spiritual, and
Yeah.
seeing that on multiple levels. So this is when you'll start doing, little charms, little protection around your house, little amulet for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a little thing. You'll start, candle magic every once in a while. And this isn't really a daily practice at this point. At this point, the practitioner is really just testing the waters. They've done some research. Now we've casted a few spells, and you're really trying to feel out, what is it that I'm looking for in this field of endeavor.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this very much at all, but we need to make a podcast that is like the essential kit. You don't need 12,000 crystals.
Oh yeah. Totally. I've thought about this so many times.
Yeah.
We need to do that. Yeah. We'll have to brainstorm
That's,
that.
I don't, you don't need this many crystals.
But like how to survive on the fly.
Exactly.
Like what are the 10 herbs you need max?
Yeah, like 10 herbs,
and speaking of folk magic, since we're talking about this, a long time ago, I couldn't tell you where, but I heard folk practitioners say, start with the stuff you have: sugar, salt, pepper, cayenne pepper,
rosemary.
Italian seasoning has all of them in there: garlic, rosemary, thyme, salt, Epsom salt, just stuff like that. Those are powerful. And a lot of, guys, a lot of witches back in the day didn't have metaphysical shops on every corner. They got their herbs at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. So don't feel like you need these exotic herbs.
You don't need a chalice.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of thoughts.
I know.
I've got a lot of thoughts.
You just got a lot of thoughts. We'll do that next. How about that? Let's make a note. We'll do the essential kit you need. But speaking of folk magic, this could be a good time to start experimenting with the stuff you have, so there's not so much a daily practice.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to invest money in literally anything, it'd be candles.
Candles, yeah.
I love candle magic.
No, for sure. Me too. Candles, herbs, and oils would be the thing I would invest money in. Yeah. And I would... When it comes to crystals, we're just so off topic now. But when it comes to crystals,
no, this is all, in my opinion, this is folk magic.
You're right. It is. When it comes to crystals, the way I never thought a day in my life I would be into crystals, you guys, 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know. It's been several years now. All of a sudden, walked into one of our stores locally on the island, and this crystal called out to me, and I was like, I have to have that for some reason. I don't know why. And of course it's a $30 pendant, but why do I need this? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to leave it and come back. And if it's here in 2 weeks, I'll get it. So it was my birthday. It was around the time of my birthday. And it was there, same exact one. And I know because the little metal piece on it, it's my square or my triangle necklace you like. It had a little tiny mark on it, and I made note of it. And I said, if it's the same one, I'll get it. And it was, which I know is silly, but for me...
I don't think so.
For me, it was a sign at the time. And so I got it, and later I started... And I also bought that expensive, thick-ass book on stones. The Book of Stones.
Oh, the Book of Stones.
Yeah, what is it, Robert? What's his name?
Yeah, it's, Robert Simmons.
Simmons, yes, Robert Simmons. If you're going to buy a book on stones, get the big Book of Stones by Robert Simmons. And I think Natasha something or I don't know, someone else helps them, but... So good. Anyways, turns out that stone was exactly the stone I needed, and it healed everything that was going on in my life. Not just spiritually, but physically. Like exactly what that stone was for was what I was facing in my life. And I'm 100% positive that that's why it healed.
Mm.
So that's one of my, what I call my power stones. So
Mm-hmm.
every time I've been drawn to a stone, I'm drawn to it energetically,
Right.
or there's a specialness to it. It's not like I'm like, ooh, let's go crystal shopping, see what's pretty. Like, no. And here's another thing for people out there, because not everybody feels crystals, but I feel them. Like I pick
Mm.
them up and I feel them immediately, and I can feel it wash over me.
Yeah.
It's not like a crawling up my arm slowly. It's like a hold it, bam, like feel it swish over me.
Yeah.
And so when I'm drawn to a crystal, I pick it up and I spend a moment with it. I'm
Mm.
like, do I like this or not like this?
Yeah.
Then I'll look at the book and see what it says about this stone, and then I'll get it. So crystals, power
Yeah.
crystals, get your set, get your stones that are good for you.
I think witchcraft going mainstream has really attracted like the collectors
Oh my
because
gosh.
it's almost as if people want to collect oddities but
Yeah,
not do the craft.
correct.
It's yeah, like, you can have a crystal collection if you have an affinity to a crystal. That's fine.
That's totally fine.
But we have to understand that that's also not where the magic's at.
Yeah, and all those things
The
that
magic is within you.
is like it never crossed my mind to be into them before, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I do believe that each person should have a couple like basic rocks on hand.
If you're gonna buy a crystal, you get you some clear quartz.
I would say off the top of my head, let's do off the top of your head, okay? So off
Okay.
the top of my head, selenite, clear quartz, black obsidian or black tourmaline, and maybe hematite or pyrite.
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's just for like I'm thinking
Yeah.
basic needs.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, I say basic need. I agree with definitely selenite,
mhm.
clear quartz, hematite as like my grounding protection stone. That's just one I have affinity to. Just get a
I
black,
also like
some
that one,
kind
yeah.
of black stone. Okay,
Yeah.
it could be Apache tier, obsidian, whatever it is. For the fourth one,
I was also thinking amethyst, but like I also don't.
there's a lot.
There's so many things you could
yeah.
qualify as basics now that we're
Yeah.
thinking.
Something that you like, something that you feel drawn to.
Yeah.
A power stone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
and it
sure.
can be whatever. I mean, if you want to get an amethyst, you can. If you want to get a piece of rose quartz, is nice to have around.
Or maybe get a stone that corresponds really well with each of the chakras. That way you can have those on hand or
Oh
something.
yeah, if you
Maybe that's a good way if you
wanted
don't not
to
sure where to
get
start.
yeah, to me that's not even a. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for saying that. To me, that's not even a part of witchcraft, but
It's not, but typically if you're drawn to witchcraft, like you're into like the energy healing and the
this is the new age rabbit hole that I had to freaking crawl my way out of. So now I just bristle.
I know, but like
Crystal gridding. I'm like, ah.
okay, but that's just energetic healing.
No,
you
I know
know?
my house is gridded.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait a minute, like hold on. And again, this is where the eclecticism comes in.
Yeah.
It's like it's. I think what irritates me about it is that everyone just ropes it under witchcraft
Yeah.
or ropes it under New Age, and like even in my course, the first thing you learn in week 1 is that it's not New Age, and I differentiate as to what New Age is because there are some incorrect, harmful, and wasteful
and wrong. Just
flat out wrong thoughts and teachings. There we go. We'll go with that word in the Ascension and New Age movement. But
Oh God, the word ascension.
I know. It's to the point, you guys, where like I've changed. I don't even know if it's still in my bio, but like I'm having a hard time with the word light work and light worker.
That's my fault. I'm rubbing off on you. I'm sorry.
Honestly, it's
You have
all
to
your fault.
rebrand in a minute.
I know, right? No, I think I did change it already. I don't know if I did. Not the point. The point is that to me, I understand what true light work is, as does Lux. We understand what it really is. It is doing anything to help the betterment of anything and everyone else. Okay, like just to put it shortly. Okay, generally for me, it's about helping others heal, see their potential, and move towards their life purpose. And to be able to, but my purpose in life, personally, is to be able to openly display the raw power of God to change someone's circumstances when they need it. So like if you're sick, I want to be able to show up and pray for you and you see improvement. I want to be able to lay hands and see healing. I want to be able to call in money for you and finances when you're blocked or, things like that. I want to be able to help bless you. I want to be able to channel a healing message for you or figure out what, where that missing, item went, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, That's not at all what we're talking about. But yeah, it can get tricky out here with the new age and everything claiming that it's right and you're wrong. But you know, we're doing the same thing. So
True. I think we'll all, I don't know, we'll always be at odds or what.
okay, so
All right.
folk magic.
You put divination. The next one you put is like self-love, healing, or getting some self-esteem.
Okay, so honestly, this should be one of the top priorities in your life. And I would say like this more isn't like, I guess my list more isn't just steps as much as it is like 5 things to do as your beginning journey. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure these 5 things are in there. And the fourth thing I would include is beginning to heal your self-love, your self-esteem, and your self-confidence, because you need those things if you want to be able to love yourself or love anyone else correct and good and well. You cannot run around like it's like trying to drive a car with 3 busted wheels. Like you have to heal yourself. And I'll give you a secret. And this is how I explain it to my students in our in the Elysium Academy. But throughout life, we're picking up all of these lies and these incorrect, harmful beliefs that we are empowering every day and coming into agreement with every day. And we are manifesting that kind of life every day. And so when you begin to tell yourself the truth about who you are, you begin to feed a different energy. And it's almost like a super powerful magnet, or like a beam of light shoots off throughout the realms. And every good thing in creation, every blessing of the kingdom of heaven that is in alignment with that comes flying at you. You can't help but prosper and to benefit. So it's really important that you heal any of that incorrect, harmful beliefs. And that's a part of shadow work, honestly. It is. But not everyone's unready to unpack their trauma at the same time. So,
yeah,
you know.
Again, that's a thing that interpermeates this entire system.
Yeah.
And I'll say that, you know, I don't believe witchcraft is inherently religious, but I do believe it's inherently spiritual.
Yeah.
And let's be real, I think all of us are engaged in the craft because we want to improve our lives.
Yeah.
And we want to maybe improve the lives of others around us with co-creating with the universe. And a lot of our magic is just simple. We can be working against our own magic, working against the flow of creation with some limiting beliefs that we may be holding about ourselves, about others, about how the world works, or what have you. So yeah, that's really important, is getting that straightened out. And that's a big propellant force of even doing magic to begin with, has always been for me connection with God and trying to become a better human being. And yes, there was things in my life that I needed, like a better job, more money, but I always felt like those things would work out eventually if I got closer to God. I have since found that, you know, I also need to help myself in other areas as well. But my driving force has always been connection with God and the purification of my personality and the alignment with my soul and my higher self. So, yeah, that's you know, I think it's good to not lose. I think it's good not to lose touch with that part of magic. I mean, there is an element of self-improvement here.
Yeah, there's a devotional aspect to it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think there is.
Yeah, I feel like at some point when practicing, you can't help but then acknowledge that the divine order, so to speak.
Yeah.
And want to connect to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Last thing you have is to celebrate the supernatural.
Yeah. So I think a good way to put this is just enjoy it and celebrate it. I remember how a minute ago I talked about feeding the wrong energy and you getting more of it. Anytime something supernatural, magical, mystical happens, or your spell works, or you do a reading and get things like, you know, super detailed information for someone, or really powerful healing messages, celebrate that, honor that, celebrate it. In the church, when we would give testimonies, we used to tell people, every time you give a testimony, you're declaring to the universe, God did it and he can do it again. So I think it's the same way, same principle here. It's like, okay, this happened, it can happen again. Celebrate it, feed it. You get more of the energy that you feed.
Yeah.
And also, it rewires your brain to expect those things and to enjoy life and to see the magical in the mundane.
Yeah.
So, and to be on the lookout because what you realize in all of this is that so much magic and supernatural stuff has been going on the entire time. We just haven't been watching.
Exactly. I think that also helps with humility and fostering genuine
Yes.
humility when we're crediting the proper forces of creation with the things that are happening in our lives. You know, we start
Yeah.
realizing, oh, it's not, even though I'm doing the magic, I'm very much co creating in
Yeah.
this space. And it's not just me by myself alone turning the cogs of this huge machine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just one piece of this beautiful puzzle that is my life. And
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with my creator. And you know, and so I'm honored to be given the privilege to create with my creator in this way. It's so humbling
Yeah.
to be able to be a part of that and be aware that you're a part of that creation process, which is magic.
Yeah. You get
Yeah.
to truly accept a part of your identity that, honestly, society's trying to rob us of,
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know? So yeah. So let's look at your list because I know you have some more
So
cool
yeah,
things to talk about.
that was the end of Chosen's list, and then I've got three more things which I would say are moving out of the beginner realm
Oh, these are deaths
and
advanced.
moving more into intermediate to advanced. So the first thing is that after doing folk magic a while, you'll be aware of something called correspondences, and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
just in real boring, okay? Because you've got all of these things that correspond to other things. Earth element corresponds to green, and it corresponds to these herbs, and it corresponds to these
Yeah.
crystals, and it corresponds to, and so you have all this information, right? And you're at this point in time thinking to yourself, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do with all of all of this information. I've got it written down in my book of shadows, but it's in about 20 different places. And
Mm-hmm.
how is anyone supposed to remember any of this? And what you need to do is find yourself a cosmology. Find
Mm-hmm.
yourself a filing cabinet system in your mind where you can stick all of these different correspondences evenly in little file folders. And all you have to do is take out that file folder and you'll see, oh, all of this is alignment with Venetian energy, the energy of Venus. I personally like using the Tree of Life, Kabbalah, or the planets, which those to me go hand in hand as my filing cabinet system. And if you do choose to start studying Kabbalah, or you could study the seven spheres, again, the planets of Hermetics, when you start studying these things, you start to realize a lot of stuff. And I'm not going to go into it, and I'm not going to talk about these things very much here because again, I know most of us here are beginners, and so I don't want to overwhelm this podcast with a bunch of information. So, but that's kind of the next thing you'll want to start looking into. Cosmology literally just means a way of understanding the cosmos.
Yeah.
Literally the study of the cosmos.
It's also giving, I mean, you've said this clearly, obviously, but it's giving your mind a way to organize the information and map it all out. It's like basically, how do you feel reality works?
Yeah.
Or how do you feel like reality is organized to the best of your understanding?
Yeah. That's
And
exactly it.
and people have different versions out there, so don't get
Oh, yeah.
confused or upset on your journey of
Yes.
figuring that out. But it really does help to be
It's
like,
game changer.
yeah, it really does help to be like, okay, like if nothing else, having like a quote unquote hierarchy of like, okay, I feel like, even if you just do the elements and divide it into 4 realms,
Right, you can do
okay,
it by the elements.
like
Yeah.
at least you know that like the mind, the things of the mental realm are all in the air realm, and anything that has to do with healing and home and hearth and comfort and stability and grounding and wealth, that's all earth. And yes, there's other aspects of the other elements that could apply, but then you start getting deeper and start getting into more layers, and then all of a sudden you're building a cosmology.
Yeah, exactly.
So
This
it's
is
really fun though.
Yeah, and this is a place where and again, remember how we said that research is going to be a big thing through the self-initiated path. So at this point, you're going to have a lot of books, hopefully, and a lot of information in your head, and it's going to be all jarbled around. Some of it hopefully will be written down in a book of shadows or something like this. But a cosmology is going to allow all of this information to be filed in your mind. And the one piece of advice that I'm going to give at this phase of the journey is understanding that what somebody says is how the way the universe works, nobody actually knows. And everything that you look at is going to be a map, okay? And don't confuse the map for the actual road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't assume that it's absolute truth,
Right.
you know? It's how it works for them.
Right.
Yeah, and I believe that there's wiggle room for error, you know, like
it's a model.
I'm going to give you a piece of advice too. Get a whiteboard. We sat down for a whole afternoon and whiteboarded all of this information out, and I did so the whole next day as well for a different realm, a different layer. But it can be fun. It can also be exhausting. But at some point, you're going to be like trying to organize this information, get a whiteboard, build a cosmology. We're not going to break it all down right now, but
journaling.
Be aware.
You're exactly right. Journaling is going to be imperative during this point because you will be overwhelmed with such mystery material. If you don't have someone like I fortunately do to bounce things off of and talk to,
I'm so thankful.
I'm so thankful for you.
Can we just talk about how much we love each other? we just look at each other sometimes and just get mushy. I don't know what I would do without you. If you died, I would resurrect you.
Please do.
Yeah, or I would kill myself and join you.
Actually, that one sounds better.
Actually, rude. I would just resurrect you. If I have to go through the life, so do you. Okay.
True. Yeah. So if you'll probably notice that you might start talking to yourself a lot. If you're anything like me, it's because.
But you're not talking to yourself. You're talking to your guides.
We're talking to the spirit team, and what we're doing is we're organizing information when we do that. So you're not going crazy. However, I'm going to say this like we've said it a million times on the podcast. If you have somebody professional to talk to during this time, I would start talking
Absolutely.
to them.
Okay, now here's the deal. You're not losing your mind necessarily if you get a response to yourself. If you get a response to yourself when you're having one of these conversations. If all of a sudden you have a thought like, yeah, but what about this? Do not freak out, okay? However, if you cannot stop those kind of thoughts, please seek help. And we cannot prescribe or diagnose. But please know that while you're doing all of this, there's also going to be a lot of inner healing going on. You probably should find a therapist or somebody to work through the mundane traumas in your life at least,
Yeah.
So definitely check someone out.
A lot of the modern occult books actually recommend that you see a psychiatrist. Okay, real quick. The next one after you figure out your cosmology, or at least you have a rough outline, all right? It's always a working cosmology. Nothing's ever figured out, all right? The next thing I would suggest a person look into is ritual magic and devotion. So at this point, it's all right, time to get serious. Let me set up a practical daily experience or practice, of witchcraft, of magic, whatever it is that I'm doing. My devotional work, what does that look like? And this would be something that we're starting to do on a daily basis. So this is really integrating a spiritual practice into our lives. So this is now a way of life. We're moving it from something that we do on the weekends or when we feel like it to something that is fully integrated within our hearts, minds, souls, personalities.
It's just what you do.
It's how you live. It's literally how you live. And there's a fair amount of devotion that's going to come in there. At this point, if you wanted to really take up meditation, go for it. This would be the point.
Live your best.
Yeah, this would be the point where I would recommend, touching base back with meditations and learning some techniques and things like that.
Not necessary.
It's not always, it's not necessary, but this would be the point at which that would become operative. The next thing is looking into, this is the last one I have, a spirit magic. So this is a pretty advanced technique. I personally haven't, I don't know, anybody out there wants to call me out and be like, there's actually something more advanced, please, I would love to hear it. But so far in my research, this is what I have found, that spirit magic or conjuring spirits, not necessarily talking to spirit guides or talking to the deceased or things like that. I'm talking about conjuring a spirit.
So basically for our audience, something like angels.
Yeah, conjuring an angel.
Asking them to help you do something.
Yeah. If anyone's Catholic that's listening, it's literally the exact opposite of an exorcism. I mean, it's the same word. Matter of fact, the etymology of those words can be traced back. There was no differentiation between those two words when in Latin. So, one is to get rid of a spirit, we know, and then one is to bring a spirit.
Yeah.
They have the exact same methods. You're just doing one in reverse. Okay. So, anyway, but that's the most advanced form of magic that I've seen. Also, planetary magic is up there in forms of advanced magic. To me, that would fall under ritual magic. That would be something that you would probably stumble upon in ritual magic if you didn't already stumble upon it by studying the Kabbalah. So yeah, if you are interested in conjuring angels, you'll probably find planetary magic pretty easily.
Yeah. So and I'll just be real honest, that's not everyone's journey.
No, it's not. I don't even know if it's my journey.
So don't feel like that. Don't be overwhelmed by that.
No, that's not something that you have to do.
I don't even know if it's my journey.
Yeah. You don't seriously.
No, I know.
You don't have to do steps 1 through 6 and now I'm an accomplished magician. You stop wherever you feel like stopping, wherever
we
your
were just
journey
given a
takes
rough
you.
outline.
This is just what I have found, and I have seen the progression of the path look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn magic, hit us up. We'll teach you.
Absolutely.
We'll give you homework. We'll fix all your problems. We'll remove all the curses placed on you for a small fine of $5,000. I'm just kidding. Just so you guys know what I'm making fun of is there are charlatans and imitators out there that they impersonate me and have you had any on your account yet? Yeah. Lux and other people. And they message our followers, they message our friends, and they're like, "Greetings, beloved. My energy was drawn to your profile
Grand
picture."
Rising.
Grand Rising.
God, I can't stand.
And they either say like, "Oh, Megan, I interest you in a reading for $75," or they'll be like, "Beloved, like the Lord has showed me a curse upon your family. I must remove it for $500." Or they'll be like, "I have an urgent message, but I can't give it to you unless you give me this outrageous amount of money." So, anyways, if you didn't get what I was joking at the end, that's what that was. But we really can teach you magic and really can help you. So feel free to reach out to us. And I'm so sorry we have no power over what they're doing other than protection magic, and we're trying. So
the last thing I'll say in that vein is that I don't know if you've told your audience this yet, but listen, we're both professional psychic mediums, and we who are genuine in the industry know you do not post, "Oh, I'm giving 5 readings to those who I feel drawn to, comment yes below." Okay, that's not...
Yeah, if I'm going to do free readings, I'm going to go live and be like, "Hey, comment your question." Most of the time it's... And there's also more principles, like the principle of exchange, like, there needs to be an exchange. So, you're right. Yeah, we're not going to do that.
No, I don't know any genuine... psychic medium who's out here on Facebook doing stuff like that. It's always a scammer.
No trained professionals in your DMs, like, "Baby, let me give you a message."
Exactly. No one's out here soliciting readings. We have clients that come to us because we know how the operational laws of the universe work.
Yeah, and we're actually interested in doing healing work.
Or we're going to post an ad. We're going to say, "Hey, certified trained professional medium, here's my number. Give me a call to book an appointment." End of story. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can tell we're real passionate about this.
Well, it's terrible because I see all these people commenting yes, and I'm like, God, I wonder how much money they lost.
You know what? I followed someone the other day. I was drawn to their photo, literally. Like, I was drawn to their photo. I was like, "Oh, cool. Let me follow them." They messaged me freaking out because it was actually me and not a scammer. They had been messaged by like 3 scammers.
Pretending to be you?
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh my God, is it really you?" And I was like, "Yeah," like, and it was so nice. I don't know if it was 3. She said a couple. Anyway, it's not the point. The point is like, things like that, that's what really irritates me, because I'm like, oh, okay, so now you're messing with people that I care about.
Was this on TikTok?
No, this was on Instagram.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's just really bad all the time, everywhere.
Anyway, so shout out to that follower, fan, listener, friend. Sorry that happened, but anyways, so yeah. All right, guys, we love you. We'll see you in the next episode. Shoot us a DM. Tell us what you want to hear, okay?
We're running out of topic ideas.
I mean, we have topic ideas, but like, we like inspiration, and we want to know what you want to hear. Yeah, we don't want to know what the 20 ideas we have are. Like, we want to know what the 20 ideas you want are. So, hit us up. So again, feel free to reach out to us anywhere across the interwebs. ChristianWitchHTX.com for myself, and LuxIntuitiveTherapy.com for Lux. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.